أنفسنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له কথা শোনা যায় না কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে এখন শোনা যায় এখন শোনা যাচ্ছে আচ্ছা তাহলে আবার প্রথম থেকে শুরু করি ঠিক আছে আউযু বিল্লাহি মিনাশ শাইতানির রাজীম বিসমিল্লাহির রহমানির রহিম আলহামদুলিল্লাহি নাস্তাঈনুহু ওয়া নাস্তাগফির ওয়া নাউযু বিল্লাহি মিন শুরুরি আনফুসিনা মান ইয়াহদিল্লাহু ফালা মুদিল্লা লাহু ওয়া মান ইউদ্লিলহু ফালা হাদিয়া লাহু ওয়া নাশহাদু আন লা ইলাহা ইল্লাল্লাহু ওয়াহদাহু লা শারীকা লাহু ওয়া নাশহাদু আন্না মুহাম্মাদান আবদুহু ওয়া রাসূলুহু أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. My dear audiences, my dear friends, brothers and sisters, and those who are watching through Facebook, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It is a great pleasure for me to attend this Tafsirul Mahfil, and inshallah, in today's Tafsirul Mahfil, we shall have a discussion on verse number 126 to 128 of Suratun Nahal. So at first, as usual, we shall go to the recitation as well as meaning of verse number, ayat number 126 to 128 of Suratun Nahal. Then inshallah, we shall go to the elaborate discussion. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإن عاقبتم فعاقبوا بمثل ما عوقبتم به ولئن صبرتم لهو خير للصابرين واصبر وما صبرك إلا بالله ولا تحزن عليهم ولا تك في ضيق مما يمكرون إن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك. I seek refuge, I seek shelter to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I am seeking shelter to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the accursed devil, and I am beginning with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is most merciful, most beneficent. وَإِنْ عَاقَبْتُمْ فَعَاقِبُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا عُوقِبْتُمْ بِهِ. If you take revenge, if you award sentence, take revenge, award sentence in proportion to his offense. وَلَئِنْ صَبَرْتُمْ لَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لِلصَّابِرِينَ. And if you do not take revenge and you keep patience, it is better. وَاصْبِرْ وَمَا صَبْرُكَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. And patience is being given from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا تَحْزَنْ عَلَيْهِمْ. Don't be anxious. Don't be hopeless. Do not lose hope. وَلَا تَكُ فِي ضَيْقٍ مِّمَّا يَمْكُرُونَ. And don't be gloomy at the plot, at the conspiracy of the enemies. إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مُحْسِنُونَ. Obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with whom? Who are righteous, who are actual believer of Islam, and who used to do good deeds. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said the truth, and His prophets and messengers have also said the truth, and we are among the witnesses. All praises are for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praises are for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the greatest. So this was the recitation as well as meaning of verse number 126 to 128 of Suratun Nahal. Suratun Nahal is surah number 16 in the Holy Qur'an, and we shall get these three verses, three ayats in part number 14 of the Holy Qur'an. Nowadays, it is very significant regarding sentencing guideline, regarding awarding punishment to the accused. If an enemy is defeated by you, the enemy made so much destruction, so much losses of your property, and since he is defeated, you are victorious, you will take revenge. Or suppose a person has committed an offense, how much punishment he will be rewarded? Nowadays, there are so many discussion in English law, in law of the other countries, regarding guideline of sentencing punishment, guideline of awarding punishment, guideline of awarding sentence. Can you believe how nice religion Islam is? In verse number 126 of Suratun Nahal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directing the Muslims to take revenge, to award punishment, to award sentence, keeping relation with his offense. If an accused has committed a offense, he will be awarded punishment in relation with his offense. Islam is asking us, Islam is directing us not to award higher punishment, not to award higher sentence than his offense. Allahu Akbar. Can you believe how nice religion Islam is? Nowadays we are getting many theories in the English law book, in the judgment of many countries, of the famous judges regarding awarding punishment, regarding sentencing guideline. Nowadays we are getting it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has directed us about the sentencing guideline about 1,500 years ago, Allahu Akbar, in the Holy Qur'an. And in the next portion of this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, if you do not award punishment to the accused, if you do not if you do not take revenge, if you forgive him, it is better. Allahu Akbar. In order to sustain discipline, peace in the society, there is no alternative of forgiveness. We used to say, forgiveness is a great virtue. It is not a saying. It is not an utterance. It is the direction of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about 1,500 years ago in the Holy Qur'an. And we used to say that patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. It is also not a proverb. It is the direction of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about 1,500 years ago in the Holy Qur'an. So, patience is a great virtue. It is the direction of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshallah, in today's Tafsirul Quran Mahfil, we shall have a discussion regarding keeping patience. Becoming patient. At first, we shall go with some relevant other ayat, other verses of the Holy Quran in other surah. First relevant ayat, first relevant verse in today's tafsir is regarding patience. Is verse number 153 of Suratul Baqarah. In verse number 153, Suratul Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah, inna Allaha ma'as-sabirin. O the believers of Islam, O the mu'min, seek support, help to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by having patience and by offering salah, by offering prayers. Allahu Akbar. So, in verse number 153 of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directing us to seek support, to seek help from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by keeping patience. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. Obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with those who are patient. Whenever we shall lead our life in the society, in the country, in a state or in a family, in personal life, in family life, in social life, in national life, at the time of leading our life, we may face difficulties, we may face danger, we may face untoward incident. And whenever we shall face any difficulty, any unrest, any danger, any problem, at that time we must keep patience. We shall not be unrest. We shall not be anxious, because danger may come in our life, problem may come in our life, and a true Muslim will never be unrest. A true Muslim will never be anxious whenever a problem will come in his life, a difficulty will come in his life, a danger will come in his life. He will keep patience and he will depend on Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will seek support from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by keeping patience. It is the direction of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 153 of Suratul Baqarah. Next relevant verse, next relevant ayat in today's tafsir is verse number 17 of Suratul Al Imran. In verse number 17, Suratul Al Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, الصابرين والصادقين والقانتين والمنفقين والمستغفرين بالأسحار. Here some virtues have been narrated by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, virtues of a true believer of Islam, virtues of a righteous person, righteous Muslim, virtues of a mu'min. What are the virtues? A true believer of Islam will be always patient. A true believer of Islam will never be impatient. He will keep patience. So first virtue to become an actual believer of Islam is to be patient. Second is to become truthful. Third is to become modest. Fourth is a true believer of Islam will spend in the way of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a true believer of Islam will seek forgiveness to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the early hours of the morning. Bil ashar, early hour of the morning, before Fajr prayer. At the time of Fajr prayer, he will seek forgiveness from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I have referred this ayat, this verse number 17 of Surah Al Imran, because in verse number 17 Surah Al Imran, in the virtues of a true believer of Islam, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has narrated the patience. A true believer of Islam will be patient. Whenever he shall face any difficulty, he shall face any problem, whenever he shall face any unrest. So this was verse number 17 of Surah Al Imran, relevant in today's tafsir. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 124 and 125 of Surah. It is also from Surah Al Imran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in verse 124 and 125 of Surah Al Imran, إِذْ تَقُولُ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَلَنْ يَكْفِيَكُمْ أَنْ يُمِدَّكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ بِثَلَاثَةِ آلَافٍ مِنَ الْمَلَائِكَةِ مُنْزَلِينَ بَلَى إِنْ تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا وَيَأْتُوكُمْ مِنْ فَوْرِهِمْ هَذَا يُمْدِدْكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ هذا يمددكم ربكم بخمسة آلاف من الملائكة مسومين. These two verses were revealed regarding during the Uhud prayer, Uhud battle, during the Uhud battle. The second battle of Islam, first battle of Islam is Battle of Badr, and second battle of Islam is Battle of Uhud. During Uhud battle, before the Uhud battle, the Muslims show that the non-believers of Islam are very large in number, and the Muslims are smaller than the non-believers of Islam regarding number of the soldiers. Non-Muslims were 3,000 in number, and the Muslims were only 700. At that time, our beloved Prophet, the best commander-in-chief in the world, in all time, in order to increase the courage of the Muslim soldiers, our beloved Prophet told his companions, although you are smaller in number, but if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send down 3,000 soldiers from the heaven, will it not be enough for you to defeat the non-believers of Islam? At that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, O Prophet, tell your companions, if they keep patience, Bala in tasbiru wa tattaqu, if they keep patience, if the Muslim soldiers are patient and they are righteous Muslim, true believer of Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send down 5,000 trained soldiers for their help. Allahu Akbar. So, we the Muslims, we are lucky that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to help the Muslims by sending soldiers from the heavens. About 1,500 years ago, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has helped our beloved Prophet in Battle of Badr, Battle of Uhud, Battle of Khandaq, Battle of Tabuk, by sending thousands of soldiers from the heaven. And in nowadays, if we keep patience, if we are patient, if we rely on Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will again send soldiers for our help. And it is mentionable here that on the 5th of August 2024, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down soldiers, angels from the sky, from the heaven, to help the students and the common people of this country against the murderer Hasina. Can you imagine murderer Hasina, how strong she was? The police forces was in her favor. The border guard of Bangladesh was in her favor. The Bangladesh Awami League, Chhatra League, Jubo League, they were in her favor. But the students and the common people, they were with empty hand, came out in the road, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down angels on the 5th August in Bangladesh, and with the help of the angels, the murderer Hasina was defeated. So we are lucky that if we follow the rules and regulations of Islam, if we follow the rules and regulations of the Holy Qur'an and Hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us on each and every moment by sending angels from the heavens. As angels were sent down for the help of the common people and the students on the 5th August in Bangladesh. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 200 of Suratun Ali Imran. In verse number 200 Suratun Ali Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu isbiru wa sabiru wa rabitu wattaqullah la'allakum tuflihun. O the believers of Islam, keep patience and determined regarding fighting. Wattaqullah, fear Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is hoped that you will be helped. You will be succeeded. It is hoped that you will be succeeded. So here also Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used the word sabrun, patience. And for this reason, I have referred this ayat. In order to get the support, of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we must keep patience. If we keep patience, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us by sending angels from the heavens. And I forgot to mention here that on the 5th August, thousands of Indian soldiers were present in Bangladesh. They were killing common people and students. And thousands of Indian soldiers were also defeated on 5th August by the common people, by the student, with empty hand. So, a true believer of Islam must admit that on the 5th August, we get the victory by the help of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without the help of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was not possible on our behalf to achieve the victory. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 127 of Suratul Araf. Each and every prophet before Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were sent by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the guidance of the people. Each and every prophet and messenger tell their nation to have patience. Here, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam told his nation to keep patience. In verse number 127, Suratul Araf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned that قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ اسْتَعِينُوا بِاللَّهِ وَاصْبِرُوا إِنَّ الْأَرْضَ لِلَّهِ يورثها من يشاء من عباده والعاقبة للمتقين. Hazrat Musa alayhi salam told his nation, O my nation, seek support, seek help from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by keeping patience. Because the whole world belongs to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the control of the world whoever He wants. And at last, in the long run, finally, true believer of Islam will be succeeded. This was verse number 127, Suratul Araf. Now relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 65 of Suratul Anfal. In verse number 65, Suratul Anfal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu hurridil mu'minina alal qital iyyakum minkum 20 sabiruna yaghlibu miyatain وَإِن يَكُن مِّنكُم مِّئَةٌ يَغْلِبُوا أَلْفًا مِّنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِأَنَّهُمْ قَوْمٌ لَّا يَفْقَهُونَ. Here Almighty Allah is saying in verse number 65, Suratul Anfal, O Prophet, ask the true believer of Islam to be serious regarding fighting, regarding jihad. Most of us are afraid of fighting, but a true believer of Islam will never be afraid regarding fighting, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in verse number 65 Suratul Anfal that a true believer of Islam is stronger than the non-believer of Islam 10 times. 10 times. Allahu Akbar. And the condition is that he will be patient. He or she must keep patience. If we keep patience, we are stronger than the non-believer of Islam by 10 times. And here in verse number 65, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly said that 20 Muslims are entitled to defeat 200 non-Muslims. Allahu Akbar. And 100 Muslims are entitled to defeat 1,000 non-Muslims. Allahu Akbar. If they keep patience during fighting, if we keep patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make us stronger than the non-believers by 10 times. It is the utterance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 65, Suratul Anfal. So, with the Muslims, we are proud that we are 10 times stronger than the non-Muslims. And in the last portion of this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, بِأَنَّهُمْ قَوْمٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has termed the non-Muslims a nation without understanding. And in another ayat of another surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has compared the non-believers of Islam with the four-footed animal. Na'uzubillahi min zalim. So, sometimes our neighbor country, the non-believer country, India, they used to threat us. Na'uzubillahi min zalim. Whenever they will threat, we shall not be afraid, because we are stronger than the Indian by 10 times. It is not my utterance. It is the utterance of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 65, Suratul Anfal. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 111 of Suratul Mu'minun. In verse number 111, Suratul Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Inni jazaituhumul yawma bima sabaru annahum humul faizun. If we keep patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us reward and we will be succeeded. So, during problem, during difficulties, during danger, with the Muslims will never be anxious. With the Muslims will never be unrest. Problem may come in our life. Unrest may come in our life. Difficulties may come in our life. At the time of difficulties, at the time of problem, we must keep patience and we must rely on Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will see that during danger, during unrest, during problem, we are relying to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will relieve us from the problem. We shall get rid of the problem, inshallah. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 5, Suratul Ma'arij. In verse number 5, Suratul Ma'arij, Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is saying, Fasbir sabran jamila. Keep patience nicely. It was verse number 5, Suratul Ma'arij, Fasbir sabran jamila. Keeping patience is very much preferable to Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Whenever we keep patience, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will like us, inshallah. Next relevant verse is verse number 10 of Suratul Muzzammil. In verse number 10, Suratul Muzzammil, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is saying, Wasbir ala ma yaquluna wahjurhum hajran jamila. Whenever our beloved Prophet started to invite people towards the oneness of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, towards the teachings of Islam, towards the Tawheed, the non-believers of Makkah said many things. Someone said that our beloved Prophet is a maid, Nauzubillahi min zalik. Someone said that he is a poet, Nauzubillahi min zalik. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said, Wasbir ala ma yaquluna wahjurhum hajran jamila. They are saying many things. They are making various utterances. O Prophet, keep patience. Don't be impatient. I am treating them. So, keeping patience is a great virtue. Last relevant verse, 2 verses in today's tafsir is verse number 15 and 16 of Suratul Fajr. In verse number 15 and 16, Suratul Fajr, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is saying, فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِ وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِ. It is the appropriate example given by Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. During our life in this world, sometimes our financial position are being shrunk. Our income are being smollen. It may be. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala test a person by giving huge quantity of assets. And sometimes Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala test a person by giving smaller, less financial support. And here in verse number 15 and 16 of Suratul Fajr, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is saying, whenever I give bounty of assets to my servant, at that time they say, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has honored me. And whenever I make their financial position shrunk, small, they say that I had been humiliated. No, Nauzubillahi min zalik. Whenever our financial position will be good, at that time we shall not think that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is happy on us. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is pleased on us. No. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has given us vast wealth to test us, whether we are following Him or not. And sometimes Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala make our sustenance, make our subsistence, make our financial position shrunk, smaller. At that time we shall not think that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is displeased on us. Nauzubillahi min zalik. Our financial position have been shrunk in order to test us. In both the position, we must keep patience. And whenever we are possessing vast wealth, at that time, we shall express our gratitude to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We shall not forget Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whenever we will be tested by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by small income, by small subsistence, by small sustenance, by being shrunk our assets, at that time we shall not be impatient. At that time we shall keep patient, because it is a test from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, in today's Tafsirul Mahfil, we are discussing regarding patience. As I have said, that patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. It is not a proverb. It is the utterance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about 1,500 years ago in the Holy Qur'an. And the best example of patience have been set up by the Muslims of Bangladesh. For the last 16 years, the murderer Hasina led the country, and each and every moment she was trying to destroy the Muslims of this country. Can you believe a student of Qawmi Madrasa, while he is walking with the Holy Qur'an, he was arrested by the police and he was treated as the miscreant, as the extremist, and he was detained in the jail hajat for years after years without having any offense of his own. For the last 16 years, the Muslims of Bangladesh have shown the greatest patience. For the last 16 years, we the Muslims were very much afraid. Each and every time Muslims were being arrested by the police without any reason, because thousands of Indian soldiers were staying here in order to torture the Muslims of the country. So the best example of patience had been showed by the Muslim of Bangladesh for the last 16 years. And for that reason, on the 5th August, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down angels from the heavens for our victory. Now, inshallah, we shall go with some, and many scholars of Islam were arrested without any reason, and they detained in jail hajat years after years. Can you believe it? In a country where 95% people are Muslim, 95% people are Muslims. In that country, Islamic scholars are being arrested and they are being detained in jail hajat years after years without any offense of their own. And that have occurred here. Because the murderer Hasina, she was not a Muslim, she was a hypocrite, she was a munafiq. Now, inshallah, we shall go with some relevant hadiths in today's tafsir. First relevant hadith in today's tafsir is An Abi Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu anna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam qala laysa ash-shadidu bis-sur'ati innama ash-shadidu alladhi yamliku nafsahu inda al-ghadabi rawahu al-Bukhari wa Muslim. Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. This hadith has been narrated by Hazrat Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu. He said that our beloved Prophet has said, a person who has defeated a wrestler in the fighting is not stronger. He is the stronger who keep patience at the time of angry. Whenever we shall be angry, we shall keep patience. Islam is teaching us to be patient at the time of anger. Next hadith is An Abi Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu anna rajulan qala an-nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam awsani qala la taghdab faraddada miraran qala la taghdab. Sahih al-Bukhari. This hadith has been narrated by Hazrat Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu. A person came to our beloved Prophet and asked him, "O my Prophet, teach me something." Our beloved Prophet said, don't be angry. Don't be angry. The person repeated again and again, "Tell me something." Our beloved Prophet each and every time said, "Don't be angry." So during anger, people used to do many things. Because whenever a person is angry, he is not in his control. The devil has taken control of his own. So, being a true believer of Islam, we shall always try not to be angry. This is the teachings of Islam. At the time of anger, we shall keep patience. Now, inshallah, we shall have prayer to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before offering prayer, now recite durood to our beloved Prophet. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma amin. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وأنثانا اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيه على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا رب هب لي من الصالحين رب زدني علما أستغفر الله اللهم إني أسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. Wallah, some of your servants, we have been gathered here and we have discussed from your Holy Quran and Sahih Hadith. We have made many mistakes. Please forgive our all mistakes and accept this Tafsirul Mahfil. Wallah, forgive our all sins. Wallah, save the Muslims of the whole world. Wallah, give the final victory, permanent victory to the Palestinians. Wallah, you know what is in our heart. Wallah, please fulfill our all good desires of our heart. Wallah, increase our sustenance. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.